We'll call the meeting to order. We've got all the members present, and great, good to see you. Briefly, let's review the committee's charge. We like to do this at the beginning of each of our meetings. It keeps us focused and also announces the charge to anyone who might be joining the meeting. The public is always welcome. The Bike and Walkways Committee is charged by the Select Board with the following tasks. 1, to work with the Cape Cod National Seashore, the towns of Provincetown and Truro, and the Cape Cod Commission to establish the continuation of the bike trail northward into Provincetown. And then secondly, to prepare a plan for future bike and walking routes throughout the town of Wellfleet. So with that said, the second item, after we read that, our near-term committee meeting calendar. We're meeting bi-weekly at this point, so every other Friday, this at the same time here, 9 a.m. There's always an opportunity to adjust that schedule if we need to. Does anyone have any inputs on the schedule right now, or does that still look good if our next meeting is to be 2 weeks from today?
Well, yeah.
What?
And I was going to say it's interesting because we said we plan to meet bi-weekly until March 26th, which is our next meeting.
Wow.
So we'll have to chat about that next meeting and decide.
Yeah, let's do that. We can also talk about it now because I think, just looking at the level of activity that's going on, the volume, we're not probably going to be in a position to do that because that we set that as a marker when we wanted to reevaluate our meeting schedule. But given the volume of work going on right now, as we prepare our analysis, I mean, I can foresee us going with bi-weekly meetings for, well, until the study is done, really. Any other thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, might make sense to push ahead now as much as we can, because typically come July, like the last several years, we basically haven't had any meetings in the summer months because everybody's so crazy busy with everything. So.
Yeah. Well, we certainly want to be done with this as soon as possible. I mean, given that we're converging year and having the analysis plan ready to go, the methodology, and collecting the data, we're getting public inputs. Well, we've received our public inputs, local government inputs. We have a call out now for external inputs from DOT, DCR, the Seashore, and the Cape Cod Commission. In parallel, building the analysis methodology. I would say our hope should be to complete our effort certainly by June. Just any other thoughts on that? That's just an estimate on my part. So what do the rest of you see?
Might be optimistic, but I hope you're right.
I hope I hope we can do that. Yeah. I mean, we're going to shift into afterburner mode here a bit, but I think we're going to find that we can, once we've got the tools built and we have the data available, we'll be in a different place where we're interacting with some of these other stakeholders, other government agencies. We'll have a lot of coordination completed at that point and ready to do the analysis in earnest. And of course, then from that, we have to build a report. But okay, so for now, let's think about it. At our next meeting, we can revisit it. Yeah, thanks for pointing out that March 26th was kind of the pivot point for us to decide. Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, rather than talking about it just again at the next meeting where we know we're going to need several more meetings, we could just make a motion to um, continue meeting bi-weekly until the end of April and revisit it then, where we'll have a more accurate estimate.
Yeah, we could do that. I can easily foresee it going beyond that, but sure. If you'd like, we can, I could see extending at least to, I hate to say to Memorial Day. That sounds like it's far away, but it's really not. Yeah.
We could, so should I make a motion that we continue bi-weekly through Memorial Day and then revisit the schedule?
Any other thoughts on that? If somebody thinks we need to revisit it earlier, that's fine too.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think sounds
I
good.
think that sounds great.
Okay, so I'll move that we continue our bi-weekly meetings through the end of May, and we revisit at that time. So, any second?
Second.
Ned seconds. Okay. All in favor?
All
Aye. Okay. Good. Let's see, meeting rules to invite public comment, our next administrative matter. As always, Christy, could you go ahead and review those, please, for the benefit of people who might be joining our meeting?
Sure. The committee invites public comment and input at the end of each agenda item with a 1-minute limit for each speaker. We welcome feedback, and we will welcome more feedback through email, as well as proposals to the committee that can become future agenda items.
Okay, thank you. At this point, any comments, either by committee or anybody in the public? Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, we have minutes available for 3 meetings. So February 12th, February 15th, and the 26th. February was clearly a busy month. And as a consequence, our minutes stacked up a bit, but we've got them, they've been drafted. We've had a chance to review them and provide inputs to Christy. So any comments regarding the minutes? If none, then I move that we approve the minutes for the 3 meetings listed here, the 12th, 15th, and 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. On to item 4, bikeway route through Wellfleet to Truro. So today's meeting is a bit of a progress review. Yeah, Christy, did you have something? Oh, I thought I saw you raise your hand. So first up are the analysis methodology, which is as part of our strategy is to have the analysis methodology developed independent of the consideration of alternative routes to ensure that it's unbiased, and we've kept a firewall between those activities. Lance has been leading our effort on the analysis methodology development. So let me turn it over to Lance and we'll get a progress review.
Yeah, well, we're in good shape. We previously have developed the goals, broken those down into set of objectives. And for each objective, we've been developing criteria that can best, we think, measure each of those objectives, and we have a set of those that's as good as we can do right at the moment. We're reviewing those, and we'll then put them out for review. We also are considering the relative importance of the goals and the objectives within the goals, and the importance of the criteria within the objectives.
Okay. So the criteria are drafted. I mean, our goals and objectives we essentially have a final draft, although they are still receiving some external review. But you're moving forward with the draft of the criteria. Okay, and there's still flexibility there if we need to modify anything. If we do get some external inputs on the goals and objectives, we're still in a place where we can adapt. Right?
Right,
Yep.
definitely.
Okay.
I
Good.
might say that we're in that position up until the point when we pull the trigger on evaluation.
Very good.
Once we
We're
decide that we're ready to do evaluation, then they're frozen.
now of course our decision point on the path for preparing the analysis methodology. The final point is we will present it to the select board for their consideration prior to, as you say, pulling the trigger on the analysis. So let's talk about when we could do that. There will be, I would think April would be a target, and there are 2 select board meetings in April. One is on, I believe it's April 6th, and then again on April 20th. So Lance, based on progress to date, and do you envision April 6th as being a date when we could take a draft or take a final methodology to the select board, or April 20th as being a more likely target?
I think I can feel the hot breath of time on our heels. So I think we should try for the 6th.
Very good. Okay.
I mean,
So
we should in fact commit to the 6th.
that being the case, I can contact the select board and to have it added as an agenda item for their meeting on April 6th. So if that is in fact our decision, let's go ahead and formally do that. So Lance, do you want to make a motion that we
Yes.
target that?
I move that we make a presentation of our methodology to the select board for approval on their first April meeting, April 6th.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Nothing like a deadline. Okay. Before we move on, any other comments, either from members of the committee or from anyone in the public?
I was just wondering, do we want to run the analysis methodology by the Cape Cod Commission or anything like that before the select board meeting?
That's a good question. We are, in fact, and it's a great lead into the next topic, and we're actually engaging in discussion with the Cape Cod Commission. So no, thanks for bringing that up. Specifically, it's been regarding analysis tools, and we had not put an approval step to have the Cape Cod Commission do an approval of this because we're conducting our analysis as a town committee in order to provide a recommendation to the town select board. However, we're definitely giving external agencies the opportunity to provide their input into what we're doing. So that is a good point. Right now, the goals and objectives for the analysis are with those state agencies and the Seashore and Cape Cod Commission. And we've requested their input by next Friday. And a little bit more on that later, but we haven't talked about giving them our actual analysis methodology only because essentially it's a technical tool that we're developing in-house. It's based in many ways on work that they have done in the past. So guidance that we've considered, guidance documents from DCR, from DOT, and others. And then of course our own study of reference material around the country. Lance, any thoughts on that?
No, I think they have the goals and objectives to comment on, and we look forward to that. And we do have this upcoming talk concerning their tool, in which we will need to talk more in specifically about what we need, and that'll give them the opportunity to comment on it, and we will make sure that they see the connection between our methodology and the work that they've done, and ask again for their input.
Because our outreach with them really is for technical input, so that we can ensure that we're doing this in the best manner possible, and we're certainly not holding anything from them. But I think, as Lance has alluded here, we're going to, our methodology will be revealed as we are discussing the technical points that we're asking questions, their assistance on. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the analysis methodology? Not moving on to the alternative routes database. So a number of routes, as everyone is aware, we've received a great amount of public input on routes to consider. We've also got results from past studies that have been done in the area over many years, most of which say further study is required, but which nevertheless indicate where routes are potential, where the potential for routes did exist, at least at the time of the studies. And we want to make sure that we include those as inputs to what we're doing here, so that we're comprehensive in considering all the alternatives. Interestingly, none of the paths that we have, I mean, it's worth noting, have originated with a member of our committee. I mean, there are routes that have sparked interest among committee members, but committee members have so far not been the champion of any particular route. And I think that speaks well for our objectivity, that the routes that we are considering have entirely come either from the public or from the state, from other government agencies. And speaking of which, of course, the analysis does include, for comparison, does include the state's current alternatives, DOT and DCRs, to be, compared head to head with these other alternatives that have been proposed by the public. So we're taking these routes, though, and rather than finding ourselves in a situation where we're doing a comparison of one route versus another, in what could, we're breaking those routes into identifiable to segments. So the routes are subdivided. We've found that the routes can be subdivided into a number of shorter segments, and a number of those segments are held in common by the various alternative routes. So we might have 5 routes that all share a particular segment in common. It definitely therefore boosts the unbiased nature of our study if we can break the alternatives into identifiable discrete segments that can be assessed independently independent of which route they contribute to, or which routes, plural, they contribute to, but we can identify and assess each of those segments individually. The paths can be considered as sequences of those segments. And interestingly, as we put together a database of these segments, we can look at, of course, routes that have been proposed that are comprised of those segments, but it also gives us great flexibility to identify and to assess new routes based on those segments. So it gives us a degree of creativity and flexibility in looking at these routes to have broken them into segments the way we're doing. And Christy, I know that you're working now on a database, and parameters have been identified that you're documenting for the various segments. Do you want to talk about that work?
Well, just so I have gotten my own chart. I think I've broken all the segments down, and now I'm working with the Excel document from Pete, and then with Lance's additions, and I should have it for the next meeting. So it's preliminary, and we don't have, it's not including the mileage measurements and the property owners. And I was just curious. So I think we'll start by identifying this, and then that will be then the next layer. Is that what you guys are thinking?
Go ahead, Lance.
We definitely, absolutely, you're correct. We do want to have the features associated with the segments, the length, the composition of the trail, the beginning, obviously the beginning and ending points, in a way that we could transfer those points over to a GIS system. We want to have ownership, abutter information, difficulties, great aspects about them as part of that database.
Yeah.
But it's good to look at just the connectivity, because it turns out when you have say, you can put together routes through some space and connect them in different ways. It turns out that if you begin to get a large number of segments, we have around 72 that we're considering, it's possible, depending on the connectivity, for the number of paths to be very large. And so it's good for us at the beginning to explore that and see how large it is. That nobody get them, and it may well be that they're very desirable. So this is an important piece of work to do ahead of time to make sure that we're considering everything. So you're absolutely right. We're not going to forget about the other qualifications, but we can just start with this part, and you have to write a program to find them all and print them out and so on.
Yeah, great. Well, and I did learn a little bit how to use some of the GIS system that allows us to measure the distance and find the property owner. So I'll be ready for that too. I think that will be
Great.
interesting. So, all right.
Great.
Yeah, Ned.
Yeah, Christy, I'd like to get together with you to go over what you have there, because I could also do it in a physical way, measure a lot of that with just going out on my bike with my Garmin. I can get grades, I can get distances, and I love banging around out in the woods anyway. So I could maybe help analyze the different aspects of the trips, of the routes.
Yeah.
But I'll talk to you about that later, Christy. Yeah.
Well,
That's
it sounds
excellent.
like that's yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes too, you know, it's great with all the mapping and everything, but to actually really get out there on the trail too, to realize that, whoa, boy, this looks nice, but maybe it isn't that nice. And, you know, there's just a lot of just being right out there. Or, you know, we also might be incumbent on us to all try to get out and either bike or walk as much of these routes as we can. You know, there's nothing like being right there versus seeing it on a, you know, satellite image. So
Yeah.
I think that's an important column that we will want to chart, that sort of human element. I know
yes,
we're looking
right.
very strongly to avoid bias, but those sort of comments about the really tangible details that you may not be able to
Right.
measure through GIS, I think
Right.
that's important. So,
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can summarize what I just heard, and that is that as the database is being developed here, there are a number of parameters that have been identified that will capture. Well, we will capture the data for each of the identified segments, route segments. Lance, your priority right now is to understand the connectivity of the segments, the start and end points of those segments, so that you can also understand which segments connect to which others, because that's going to play into really the agility of the analysis methodology to identify hybrid routes, ones that perhaps aren't yet identified.
Right.
Okay. But that we clearly can populate that database using GIS tools, and then as Ned has reminded us, also by going out and physically looking at the segments too. So, any other thoughts, or did I just state that correctly?
That sounds good.
Okay. Well, that's good. And Christy, thank you for being the center of effort here on building that database, because I know there will be a lot of input. So you'll probably be hearing from different people with different data to share with you. And you know, building that as Lance is making his progress on the methodology, and as you're building the database, of course, some conversation between the two of you to make sure that the efforts converge. Anything else regarding the database? Okay. Moving on to the final topic under the 4C here, tool selection for route mapping. And this really gets into the GIS area. So let's talk about that. Lance, you want to make some comments about how you see this playing in with the methodology for the analysis?
Yeah. We talked last time about I guess it's ArcGIS or ArcMap that Rebecca had talked to the CCC about, and they had offered the use of it. I had some concerns. Would it support our approach, which is basically a segment-based approach to determining the paths? And we've done that preliminary analysis, and it looks great, and we're very much pleased that we can make use of that offer from CCE, because they have already developed some data layers that will be useful, like Christy was talking about, for automatically gathering some of that information. So it's very, since we have our approach is a segmentation or a segment-based approach, and the tool that we want to use for visualization and showing people what it looks like and finding out using all the power of a GIS to find out elevation and these other things, we're very happy that, I mean, it looks very good for us to go forward on this. And Pete, I know that I believe that you and Rebecca are going to set up some kind of talk for us to discuss the next step in actually seeing the tool.
So yes, that's exactly right. We want to move forward in exploring what capability comes from GIS, but I know you, because of your preliminary look at it, you were looking at some other tools as well, Lance. So since you had a chance to do that, for the sake of clarity of our effort here, what I'm hearing is that there has been really a path selected or a tool selected, and that is, do I hear you saying that ArcGIS will be the preferred tool?
Yes, we looked at, it's eluding me. What is this snipper?
There was one called Scribble Maps.
Right.
Scribble Maps.
Yeah.
It appears to be an excellent tool. But the ARC map provides everything else, everything that we would need. So and it doesn't cost. The Scribble Maps will begin to cost after a month or so. So yes, I would say that we would definitely feel that ArcMap, ArcGIS can do everything we need. So that's a great relief.
Okay, great. All right. We will be continuing to explore that, and I've again based on the communication ongoing with Cape Cod Commission, we're setting up a meeting with them so that we can explore. They've offered the use of their data sets for ArcGIS, and so we want to take them up on that, and we hope to be coordinating with them in the coming week. Great. Any other comments here regarding tool selection for route mapping? I think we're making good progress in that area. That's going to be, I think, a key to a powerful analysis, and not just because it's a good demonstrate or a good what was the words you used, Lance? We can use it to illustrate the different routes, but not just to illustrate the routes, but rather to also do for data input regarding the routes, right?
Right. We can reverse populate. We can give it all the different paths that we're finding and want to explore, and it can find those, and then it can give us back information that we can use to populate Christie's database. That, for example, Ned goes out and determines that there's a number of features on a particular segment that are good, but maybe there's some issues in terms of slope or fall off, and we can then that'll stimulate us to ask the GIS to provide that data, and we can then export that from the tool into our database straightforward, comma separated vector, and put it right in, and then we can analyze it from that point of view. I'd like to say also that the columns that we're going to be putting in Christie's database that will come from Ned and others and from are going to be sharply constrained and directed by the criteria that we've developed from the goals objectives. Those criteria say, for example, they'll talk about is the path wide enough to accommodate these functions on the path? And that's something we need to go out and look at and make a determination. What can this path be as wide as we need it to have all these functions on there? There's a real symbiotic relationship between having the tool and then being able to access all of those data layers that are available, and then populate our Excel database so that we can run the criteria computations on it. I'm sure that's quite crystal clear. Sorry about that.
That is clear. I think
Yeah.
that's great to picture the whole thing, everything connecting at some point. It will be really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I think we will continue our work here. Just so you know, in terms of engagement, I've mentioned a couple times that we're going to be talking with Cape Cod Commission. In addition to that, I've had email correspondence with the director of DPW, Mark Vincent, and we're going to be connecting next week. And among the topics I want to talk with him about, first of all, have him have his inputs regarding our draft criteria, because we do want to run those criteria by DPW. We've had an invitation also by the Chief of Police, Chief Hurley, to involve his department in reviewing those criteria. So those will be, I think, great opportunities to ensure that our criteria are as strong as possible. And we could do that in the coming weeks, certainly. And then again, other coordination going on with external agencies, DOT, DCR, Cape Cod Commission, and the National Seashore. Any other comments? Okay. Are there any comments from the public? I know we might have some people who joined by phone, and I see that Terry Smith has joined online here. With no other comments, I think we've set a record here for meeting length. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move to
Motion
adjourn.
adjourned.
I heard 3 motions to adjourn. That is a quorum. We have a second. I'll second. All right. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Good to see you all.
All right, likewise.
Take care. Bye.
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 Take care, everybody.